Is my mother a narcissist? Here's how to tell. So, you've always known something was, I don't know, off about mom. Your friends tend to have different relationships with their moms, and your mom's always talking about herself. She's intrusive, she's critical, she has very little tolerance for you to mess up at all. And you wonder, is there something seriously wrong with her? Well, to find out that your mom has narcissistic personality disorder can be both relieving and unsettling because, after all, she is your mom. And it's depending on the severity and how much she's hurt you. I get that too. So the first thing that we want to look at when diagnosing, and of course I can't in absentia, can't diagnose your mom, but we want to look at persistence and pervasiveness. By that I mean, do her symptoms of grandiosity, self-absorption, needing to be special, lack of empathy, are these things persistent in many areas of her life? Okay. Are they kind of all the time? Is she never wrong and never sorry, or rarely? You can't think of an instance where she is. Does she always have to get the upper hand? Does she have to be superior? Okay. Does she have to be special? She break in line, break the rules, lie without seemingly even thinking about it, manipulate just as a matter of course. A personality disordered person relies on these defenses regularly. That's just who they are. That's just the way that they know to be. They don't know there's anything wrong with them. Not consciously anyway. It's just, hey, life's a game and that's what you got to do. That's what they'll say when pressed. So someone who has traits of narcissism, and hey, that would be all of us, I think. So the mom who, you say something that doesn't land with your child very well, and you're pretty kind of insensitive, or, you gloat and you need to be right sometimes, or you take a little bit too much pride in your child's successes, or you feel a little bit devastated in their failures and ashamed. Yeah, welcome to motherhood. So I think it's really important to distinguish between narcissism as a personality disorder and narcissistic traits. Now, lots of moms are high in traits. So she may be, maybe empathetic when it comes to you're not so good at math, or you've had a fallout with your best friend. But when you wanted to get your belly button pierced at 14, your head turned around 3 times, and like Linda Blair, and she had duck fits. So that may be more of indicative that she had some trauma that's then being triggered, and that's coming up. So a narcissistic mom will pretty much all the time be grandiose, lack empathy, need to be special. And that's tough. If that's your mom, then you're doubting yourself all the time, because if everything's criticized, why wouldn't you? It's hard to have confidence, because if nobody's had empathy with your struggles, then you can be really hard on yourself. Or you might have imposter syndrome for having been successful and overachieving at some things, and then your mom gets a little bit too appropriating about those things and kind of sees it as her success. Thank you very much. So you can be left with the feeling that, gosh, if you fall off the pedestal, um, you're pretty awful. And everybody falls off the pedestal every once in a while. So you can feel like a fraud just waiting to be found out. And that's tough. So that's another way, that you can tell if your mom's narcissistic, because those feelings are going to be pervasive and get in the way of relationship, job success. It's very much a disorder that affects, particularly in women, the dynamic between mothers and daughters. So knowing where your mom's coming from, and I can tell you, so if she's narcissistic, there's very deep insecurity in the core of her. So if you think about it, the core of a person, there's shame and insecurity. And if it's so bad, that person can't tolerate being aware of that. If it's so bad and if there's so much of it, then they develop what are called defenses. They happen unconsciously, but those are ways that they've learned to cope and keep these insecurities literally out of awareness. They're not aware of them. So they feel the need to be the opposite. So if deep down they feel terrible, then they're going to need a steady diet of feeling special and evidence that they're superior to everybody. And because they're so driven, they have no self-empathy, they can't extend it to their daughters. We can only be as empathetic with others as we are with ourselves. Do you ever think about that? So the narcissist has no empathy for themselves. No, they're entitled, and that's a different thing. They're entitled, but they have no empathy for themselves, so they can't extend it to their daughters. They might even experience their daughter's successes as a threat, which is awful if you have a mom who is who's threatened or jealous of your successes. That's a tough, very tough one for daughters to deal with. But knowing, so if your mom fits these traits, fits the set of defensive mechanisms, and they look different in women, I think, because women are socialized to cover them up. Nobody, and the way that things look is everything to a narcissistic mom. So she's been socialized to appear gracious, to say the right things in public. And many times her daughter bears the brunt of the narcissism, the behind closed doors, the it's for your own good talks, that kind of thing. So if you really feel like your mom might have this personality disorder, it's the first step to understanding why you have a lot of self-doubt. Why it's so hard to stand up for yourself if you get attacked, if you've gotten attacked from mom. The more you know what's driving her behavior and where she's coming from, the more you can develop empathy, true empathy for yourself. Knowledge is power.